Levi here, the Outdoor Cowboy, and welcome back to the Outdoor Cowboy YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making 5 viral fire starters. We're going to be talking about their elements, how to make them, and then we're going to be testing them out, lighting them on fire, and seeing how well they work. I'm super excited for it, and it should be a lot of fun, so let's jump into it and saddle up for the ride. You guys know that along with my content always being wholesome and family friendly for all ages, I also want all my videos to be educational and entertaining. So today we're going to be making and talking about some different fire starters, but I wanted to make it more fun, so we're going to be making some viral fire starters that I've seen on the internet. If you haven't seen, I have another video on the Outdoor Cowboy channel that was posted a little while ago where we make some at-home fire starters, and they're the ones that I actually use when I'm out survival camping and things like that. They're either free to make or they're super cheap. They're super light and small, so they're great for packing, but they're also super effective. That video will be linked at the end of this video, so once you're done watching this one, definitely go watch that one if you haven't seen it yet. But for this video, we're going to be making some viral fire starters that I've seen on the internet, and we're going to be talking about them. I've seen a bunch of these all over the internet in the past, and I've been thinking about wanting to make a video about making them just because they look fun. Some of them have like fun or unique elements to them, or just kind of weird ways that you make them, and you'll see that as we make them in the video. But most of them aren't super practical for survival camping or backpacking, which is why I wanted to make them. I don't think I'll be switching out any of the fire starters that I use when I'm survival camping for the ones we make today. So we have 5 viral fire starters that we're going to be making today, and I'm going to show you the elements that goes into them first, and then we're going to talk about how to make them, and then we're going to make them real quick, and we're going to light them. And then the practical part of the whole video is we're going to talk about the elements of these fire starters. Even though they might not be super practical or great for survival camping, they still have great elements that we're going to talk about that goes into making a good fire starter. So we're going to talk about the elements that each of them have that make them a good fire starter and those strengths, but then also maybe why they might not be the best option for survival camping. So let's jump into it and build some viral fire starters. And before we jump into really building our fire starters, I realize that none of these fire starters really have a name. So if you guys can think of names as we build these fire starters, comment them down below. But let's jump into our first viral fire starter. And the first thing we got to cover is the things that you'll need to be able to make this fire starter. So the things that you'll need are an Altoids mint box, some cardboard, and some wax candles. So these are the things that we need to make this fire starter. Now let's talk about how we're going to make this fire starter. It first starts with our Altoids can. This is what we're going to make our fire starter in. So first thing, we're going to have to dump all the mints out, but these mints will definitely not be wasted. I'm going to put these in a bag or some other kind of container and put them in my car so I can still use them. So first thing is we're going to empty out our Altoids container. Then once we got that, then we have our cardboard as our next thing. And we're going to cut this into little strips that are as thick as our Altoids can is deep, just so it fills it up. And then we're just going to layer cardboard all the way in there so our entire Altoids can is full of cardboard. And we're going to cut a little bit longer one for in the middle. That's going to be our wick that we're going to light. And then with that done, we have our wax candles last. We're going to melt these down on our little stove. And then once our wax is melted, we're going to take it out and pour it over the cardboard inside our Altoids can. So in there, we'll have our cardboard soaked in wax with a piece in the middle that's a little bit longer that we're going to light as our wick. So that's the ingredients and the instructions. Now let's get into making our first viral fire starter. Alright, we got our viral fire starter number 1 made. But before we light this or any of our fire starters, we're going to first talk about the strengths and weaknesses of it. If I think it even could be a good option for going survival camping, anything like that. So start first off with this. First thing right out of the bat, the Altoids case. Pretty sweet. I really like Altoids. I think their cases are super cool, so that's a plus right off the bat. But other than looks, I think it could be a great little carrying compartment. It wouldn't be completely waterproof, but it'd be water resistant, and it would seal pretty good so you wouldn't have stuff floating around in your backpack or anything getting into it. So it still closes. So I think that's definitely a strength of it, is that it's covered. I also like inside that we have the little wick, because I think that would catch pretty good and you can kind of break the cardboard up a little bit, moving it back and forth. But very simple. It's just cardboard and wax, which we know burns really well. That's pretty similar to what the fire starters were in our homemade fire starters video. So principle is there. I think it's just pretty big and bulky compared to our other fire starters. And I think that most times when you're talking about starting a fire, you're really trying to get wood started. And obviously this would burn longer than our normal fire starters would, but I think catching your wood on fire and being able to get a bigger fire than just your fire starter, I think this and a really small, just cotton ball and Vaseline or something like that, would do about the same. So I think that though the principle is great here, I think it's probably too big and bulky to go survival camping. But the one place I could think that this would be good is if it was raining or wet outside, because this thing would burn for a long time. I would bet that this by itself would burn for maybe 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes, I'm not sure. We'll have to test it sometime. But I imagine this would burn for a long time and put off a decent amount of heat. So this probably could be a little stove for a while to either warm water up, warm some food up or something like that. So I think this thing's biggest potential would be either burning for a long time to dry out wood or just being a stove by itself and not needing any wood at all. So those are kind of the strengths and weaknesses of our Viral Fire Starter number 1. Obviously, looks pretty sweet. The Altoids can is awesome, but maybe just a little too big and bulky for us in survival camping. But let's go light it and see how it burns. All right, now on to our Viral Fire Starter number 2. And for the name for this one, I'm thinking something along of spicy toothpaste, because our first ingredient is toothpaste, and then we need some petroleum jelly or some Vaseline, and then some wood shavings as well. So these are the 3 things that we're gonna need to make our second Viral Fire Starter. Our toothpaste, we don't actually need the toothpaste inside, so this is an empty tube of toothpaste. I used it all up and then just kind of rinsed it out with water so it's empty. And this is where our fire starters are gonna go in. And then the actual fire starter itself is gonna be a mix of our petroleum jelly and some sawdust. So we're gonna cut some wood up to get some sawdust. So we're gonna melt the petroleum jelly on our stove, and then once it's melted, we're gonna mix the sawdust in. And that'll give us just a thick kind of paste mixture that we're gonna put into our toothpaste. And then whenever you need, you can squeeze out some fire starter. So kind of weird. I kind of like the idea of it. So these are what we need. That's how we do it. Now let's go make our second Viral Fire Starter. All right, we got our Viral Fire Starter number 2, the spicy toothpaste all made up. Looks awesome. So let's talk about its strengths and weaknesses. I think right off the bat, its biggest strength is the waterproof case. This isn't gonna let any water in, it seals up still, and we heated up our knife and melted the back so the back is sealed so nothing's gonna come out there either. I think that's huge. Honestly, I don't have a lot of bad to say about this one. We'll have to see how it burns later, but I think it'll burn pretty good. But really cool. This thing's pretty small and light, waterproof like I said, so this thing could be fully submerged in water and it wouldn't affect it at all. You just unscrew the cap and squeeze some out. I also think the ability to choose how much you want could be really cool. If you have really dry wood you know is going to catch pretty quick, you could just squirt out a little bit. Or if you know your wood's going to take a little more, you can squirt out more. So I think that's pretty cool about it. Again, a lot of positives about this one. I would say its biggest negative is that it's pretty hard to make. It was pretty hard to get it to seal up all the way without any holes. And when I was pouring it in, I totally spilt stuff all over my hand, so that's not good. Also, I think its probably biggest negative is if you were out survival camping and got this mixed up for your normal toothpaste. That would be pretty bad. So definitely don't do that if you make this one. But overall, pretty cool. Love the little waterproof case. Doesn't weigh much. Pretty cool that you can select how much you want. But the real test is how it burns. So let's go light our Viral Fire Starter number 2. All right, now we're on to our Viral Fire Starter number 3. This one's pretty simple, but it's pretty cool. All we need is some more cardboard, some matches, and then some more wax from our candles again. So those are the ingredients, and how we're gonna do it. We're obviously gonna melt our wax over our stove, and then we have perforated cardboard. So it has the slots in it And what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple matches out and we'll shove them in a slot. I think we're going to take 6 matches and then fold it on itself so it's 3 and 3 and make maybe 2 or 3 of those. And then once those are made, we'll dip the entire thing in wax. So then it's almost like a torch kind of a fire starter. So you'll still strike it on a matchbox, but then the whole thing will burn because it has cardboard and wax on it. So it should burn for a little while. So these are the ingredients. That's how we do it. Let's go make our viral fire starter number 3. All right, we got our viral fire starter number 3 made, just our matches and cardboard and the wax. They're all dried now, so they're nice and hard, which is good, but I think these are pretty cool. I think they're very simple, and I imagine they'll burn for a long time. This is pretty similar to the fire cookies that we made in our other fire starter video, but without the matches. And that one burned pretty good, so I think this is a great option. It's super simple, it was really easy to make, which is really nice. And obviously it has the matches, so you'd still need the matchbox to light it, which could be seen as a negative. I'm going to say it's a positive just to help it out. Just that this doubles as your fire starter and your spark for your fire. So I think that could be really nice. It would be like a little torch, so if you strike it and then it's burning, then you'd be able to kind of stick it into your fire. Sometimes it's hard to place a fire starter and get your flint and steel in there, your ferro rod or your lighter. Sometimes it's hard to get them down in there. So that'd definitely be a strength of this one. But I think it's just a little overcomplicated. You have to bring the matchbox with you. I use waterproof matches, but if you don't have them, then they won't be waterproof. And you could put them in a bag or something, but I feel like it's just a little too complicated. Use the 6 matches. We don't really need this much, so we probably won't be using this when we're out survival camping, but let's go light our viral fire starter number 3. All right, now on to our viral fire starter number 4. For this one, we only need 2 ingredients, and that is some twine rope. It needs to be fairly thick for it to work, and then again, some wax candles. So how we make this one is pretty simple. Just melt our wax, and then we're going to dip our rope in it and let our rope soak up a bunch of the wax, and then we'll take our rope out, let it dry, and it should harden pretty well, and then we'll be able to take just little pieces. We'll just cut off little sections, maybe 1 or 2 inch pieces, and that'll be our fire starter. And in the original video that I saw for this one, instead of using wax candles, they used the Baby Bell cheese, like those little red cheese wheels that are wrapped in wax, and they like undid all the Baby Bell cheese and then melted the wax down that was on the outside. I figured that's probably not the best source of wax, and I didn't want to have to unwrap like 20 Baby Bell cheeses to get enough wax, so that's why we're going with candles. But I guess it's up to you, whatever source of wax you have, whether it's candles like this or scented things or Baby Bell cheese. So let's get to building viral fire starter number 4. All right, we got our viral fire starter number 4 made. I made 2 of them, just our rope soaked in wax. So let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this. Overall, I think it's really good. I think it's a great option. Rope like this made out of twine will work super well, burns really well, burns for a long time, and then soaked in wax will help it to burn longer, but also it keeps it waterproof. This thing's pretty solid with wax, so I'm fairly certain we could probably get water on this or put it in water and it would still light for us. Just the wax keeps us pretty waterproof, which is a really nice plus of it. And we're going to cut this into smaller chunks. This is just how it dried. You can see they're completely stiff. But we're going to cut it into probably 2 or 3 inch sections, and then we'll put those into a bag and put them into our backpack if we take them. But I think it's really cool. They're super light. I think it'll burn really well. We'll see when we light these, but I think you'll kind of have to ruffle them up a little bit just to get the rope to open up a little bit and be able to burn better. But overall, I think these are a great option. I don't really have a negative for them. I think they're very similar to other fire starters I've made. Might be a little bit heavier and take up a little more room than some of the other ones, so maybe that's a negative. But overall, I think this is a great fire starter, not too unreasonable. So let's go light fire starter number 4. All right, made it to our last fire starter. Now we're on to viral fire starter number 5. This one has similar ingredients except for a few things. So we got our candles, we're gonna need some wax again. We got cardboard and matches, and then we have canned chicken breast. I guess this one could double as a fire starter and your lunch. But this is gonna be similar to the first one where this can is just gonna be what we make our fire in. They just had a circular can like this, so I just went and got some canned chicken. And just like the Altoids, I'll be eating the chicken as well. It's not just gonna go to waste because I don't like to waste food. So we're gonna eat the chicken, and then this is gonna be our little container. And it's gonna be similar to the first one in that we're gonna wrap the inside with cardboard, and then we're gonna melt our candles and pour it over it. But in the video I saw of this one, they kind of combined our third one and our first one. So they had matches in the middle of all the cardboard where you pour the wax. And then they actually cut off one of the match strips on the side of the matchbox and put it in between them. And they made like a paracord tab that you pull, and as you pull it out, it lights the matches and then it lights the thing. So we're gonna try to do that. I hope we'll be able to. I think that what we're gonna have to do is fill it up with cardboard in our matches and pour the wax in, and then do the strip after our wax is already dried. We'll just kind of press the matches apart and put them in there. That's what I think we're gonna have to do, just because I don't think getting wax on this would be great, but we will see what we can make work. But that's what we need and how we make our viral fire starter number 5. All right, and here we have our last fire starter number 5 all made. So let's talk about its strengths and weaknesses. I think its strength right off the bat is it's really big and it would burn for a super long time. And then kind of similar to our other fire starter that had matches, this could double as your fire starter and your spark. So we haven't made the match pole thing yet, but we're gonna do that when we light it. So you'll see that in a little bit if we can get it to work. Hopefully we can, but I think that's the biggest strength. It's really big, and I really think this could be a great option to just be a stove for you. I bet this thing would burn for 20 or 30 minutes with how much cardboard and how much wax it has. So I really think you could just do this, put some sticks or some rocks around it and put your pan right on top. And I imagine it'd be able to get a couple cups of water boiling, enough for like a freeze-dried meal or something like that, which I think could be awesome. That's sometimes all you need when you're out surviving. So I think that's its biggest strength. Its biggest weakness is it's just really big and heavy. With this much wax in there, it weighs quite a bit, and it's just big. And since this is one of the peel-off lids, it's not like our Altoids container where we can close it. So this thing would kind of just be bouncing around in your bag. Stuff might get in there, or it might rub some wax off on some things. So it might just be kind of messy, so I see that as another negative. So if you don't have to hike very far and you're not sure what your wood situation is like, this could be a great option just to bring this as a stove and cook your food right on top of it. But if you're hiking a long ways, this is probably too messy and too heavy for you to carry, and a little fire starter to work. So definitely not taking this on any survival campouts, but we might use it on a campout or two. But let's go light our last one, viral fire starter number 5. Here I was trying to make the pull tab thing work to light our fire starter. I'm not sure if my matches are too thin and don't protrude from the cardboard enough to get good friction, or I know that some strike areas on matchboxes are rougher than the one I was using, so maybe that would help. But after many failed tries, we just started it with a lighter. Well, just like that, we got our 5 viral fire starters made. It was pretty fun to make them and pretty fun to see them burn. Kind of some weird ingredients and some interesting ways to make them, but not too different from our normal fire starters that we use when we're survival camping. So we talked about how there's some of the same principles in there. We use either wax or Vaseline and cardboard or rope, something like that. So pretty similar in that sense, because a lot of our normal fire starters use Vaseline or wax and some cardboard or some cotton balls, something like that. So kind of the same principle. These ones are just a lot bigger, a lot clunkier, and a lot harder to make. So we probably won't be taking any of them on our survival outings, but it was still super fun to make them. I've seen tons of videos of these, so I'm glad I was able to finally make them. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you learned some stuff about kind of what's important in a fire starter and what to think about when you're going out camping, what to bring with weight and space, and how easy it is to light, and how well it will be able to help you get a fire lit. Because having a fire is one of the most important things when you're surviving. If the temperature is low, keeping you warm is essential, but also being able to cook your food or purify water, other essential things when you're out survival camping. So I had a super fun time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Go check out the Outdoor Cowboy merch. It's the best stuff. I love it. I might be a little biased, but it's pretty awesome. So go check it out. We'll be adding new stuff over time, but there's some awesome stuff on there right now. So go check that out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, and saddle up for the ride. If you like this video, make sure to check out the Outdoor Cowboy YouTube channel. We've got new videos every week, survival adventures, camping projects, tool restorations, and a whole bunch more. Hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.